Happy Tuesday night, everyone. Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm Rob Whiteside. I'll be your host tonight on this magical journey we're going to be taking tonight. We're going to be talking about live-action Aladdin versus the original Aladdin. This is the versus concept. We did this once before with The Lion King, and when we did it before, we did it with Eric Wolf. We can't do it again without him. Here he is, Eric Wolf. How's it going, buddy?
Hey! How are you guys? Doing good, doing good.
Do you trust me?
Oh, I trust you.
That came out creepy, didn't it? It's fine. So what we're going to do, and it's very similar to what we did last time. So, and this was a little bit different, and it came out of a conversation that we had on a Deep in the Plus once before. You were listening in on this one, and I was talking about how much the Lion King live action bothered me. And so we went head to head with Lion King versus Lion King, and we had a very clear winner between the two of us, which was the animated, the original animated, not the other animated. And they were both animated, which it was easy to compare. This is a little bit different because the live action retelling is, I feel like, a different beast than the original. You agree?
I agree. I totally agree. We were talking about it briefly before we got on, and it's like, yeah, this one essentially is a live-action adaptation of the Disney animated movie. So it's different than just whole animated again. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, spoiler, I kind of like that about this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the original 1992 animated movie, and we're not going to talk about when you were born. And then we're going to talk about the Will Smith remake in 2019, we're going to then compare a little bit. So we'll go through each of them. I think most of the people know the story of Aladdin, and so I don't think that there's going to be any spoilers here when it comes to this. So with the first movie, I fell in love with the first movie. And again, I mean, I had, let me just put it in perspective for you this way. My wedding, we had somebody sing A Whole New World in the ceremony. It was that big a deal. This movie meant so much to me, and it's A Whole New World is such a good love song, and it goes back to the brilliance of Alan Menken and Howard Ashman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
so,
definitely.
So they have a trilogy here, basically. They have The Little Mermaid, and they have Beauty and the Beast, and they have Aladdin. And unfortunately, Howard Ashman passed away before they were able to finish Aladdin, so he didn't ever get to see the finished piece of that. But his legacy is in this. His fingerprints are all over this, and it's just the music to this makes this movie so magical. And the other thing that makes it so magical, and we'll talk about it more, other than the magic, because there's magic in it, is Robin Williams. And Robin Williams recently it would have been his 70th birthday, and so we all missed Robin Williams and his talent. And this really, he really, both of those guys, Howard Ashman and Robin Williams, behind the scenes, really ushered this movie forward into what it became, which I can't imagine it being anything other than it was. So let me ask you this: Well, when was the first time you saw or remember seeing this movie, and what does this movie, like the original, mean to you?
Man, so the interesting thing is that I kind of don't remember first seeing the movie. I just remember loving it. I have it right here. I had the Aladdin game on Sega Genesis. Was it Sega Genesis or just Sega? I don't know.
It was Sega. It was the Sega Genesis. Yeah.
Sega Genesis. Okay.
I had it.
Yeah. So I remember playing that game. I remember just falling in love with the story, and honestly, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but if you take Pixar away from the equation, Aladdin is actually my favorite Disney movie. Just in general, yeah. And man, I think the first time I saw it, whenever that was, and growing up, it didn't mean as much as it means to me now. I love Robin Williams. Robin Williams is my favorite actor. I honestly think he'll always be my favorite actor. And just what he did with this role, and just everything that encompasses the genie. And I gotta say, honestly speaking, I know we're talking about the animated, but honestly speaking, what has been done with the genie with still giving it that Robin Williams feel, I just love. So yeah, like Aladdin as a whole just really hits it hard for me.
Which is why you have the hat. It all makes sense now.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I again, this movie means a lot to both of us, and so it is very special, and so it really was going to have to be a Herculean, no pun intended, effort to be able to put a live action together that we wouldn't, that we would like. So this movie is an hour and 34 minutes, made in 1992, and when we started up on DisneyPlus, you see the long version of the, like, hey, sorry guys, this was made in a different time. There was depictions and mistreatments, and you're like, whoa, okay, so maybe I'm misremembering this movie. Like maybe this is really like a lot worse than I thought. And so when you're watching the movie, the one thing that I think is very clear is that it's Oscar's so white, Aladdin's so white in this particular movie, like all of the actors, and I think that was something they tried to remedy in the retelling, which is fantastic. But in this one, you got Scott Wanger, who it's always weird saying that name. He was DJ's boyfriend on Full House. He was the voice of Aladdin, and then Linda is the voice of Jasmine, and so it's like that's a little weird, but they're not the actual singing voices, which I find weird as well, because these guys weren't. It's not like we got I don't know, like I'm trying to think of somebody who would have been big at the time, but like let's say we got at the time, like let's say Will Smith and
honestly,
Demi Lovato in here for this movie, and like some acting powerhouses. And why couldn't those other people have been the speaking voices of Aladdin and Jasmine? Because really, when it comes down to it, this is Robin Williams' movie, and so he was like the headliner. I don't know why you couldn't have had somebody who could sing and do the voices, right? But I mean, I do think they blend well.
It's such an interesting thing because, like, if my memory serves me correctly, that's pretty much one of the only movies in the Renaissance era that they kind of did that they separated the actors and the singers. Because you had Jodie Benson as Ariel, did both, I forgot Belle's name. Oh, actually, no. Isn't the Beast? I think the Beast singing voice is a different actor.
Probably.
Or a different
Robbie Benson was the speaking voice of the Beast, and I don't know if he was the singing voice. He may have been. I don't. But Paige O'Hara is the woman you're thinking of.
Paige O'Hara. There we go.
Yeah. No, you're right. And then in Hercules, Susan Egan. They usually brought in, I think after that, they brought in people from Broadway who actually had the Broadway chops and then could sing, and they could also do that. But Brad Kane and Lea Salonga, and I have a little bit of a clip here, hopefully not enough that YouTube will hate me for it, but let me see if I can pull it up here. So they did an Oscar presentation at the year that this was nominated, where they sang A Whole New World in the Aladdin and Jasmine costumes. And again, these are voices. They didn't have to look like them, but I feel like they really could have pulled this off a little bit better than I mean, it's really weird what they're doing walking around the stages and stuff like that. But but I feel like they could have pulled it off and been Aladdin and Jasmine. So I don't know that it was important, but clearly I'm not a casting director. Clements and Musker, who directed this movie, clearly thought that this was the right move to do. I just find it kind of strange as we go through. Now, Jonathan Freeman, who was the voice of Jafar, was also the singing voice of Jafar, was also Jafar on Broadway. So he was, he is a Broadway actor, and that made a lot of sense. That's awesome. Robin Williams sang a lot of his own songs, but he didn't sing the narrator song in the very beginning. Yeah, the very beginning. Do you know who sang that song? Apparently, I'm guessing from your reaction, you do not.
No, I thought it was him.
No, Arabian Nights is not him.
Oh, that's crazy.
Sorry, dude. Bubble Burst. Yeah. So the gentleman who sang the opening theme, the Arabian Nights, was Bruce Adler. And so the funny thing is that there was this like, he's voiced by Robin Williams. He's the narrator. He's slash the merchant. And there was this merchant theory going through that was like, oh, well, maybe that's really the genie because he's really, it's the same voice. Maybe, since Robin Williams is doing that, maybe that's the thing. And Clements and Musker said years later that it was basically the genie in disguise, and there would have been another scene that would have tied that together. And we see that in the next movie very clearly. But yeah, Bruce Adler was the guy who sang Arabian Nights. I guess that wasn't in Robin Williams' key. I have no idea.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So when that movie opens up, the thing that bothers me as a graphic designer is the fonts. I mean, looking back at those, they're trying to be very, Arabian. Those fonts drives me bananas. Hate it, hate it. I can't stand it. And then it opens up again with the narrator, the merchant, and as I'm watching that movie, here's how much I'm into this movie. Like I'm quoting it as it's like, this is the famous Dead Sea Tupperware, still good. Yes. I mean, like, I just it was like I just fell back into it watching. There's so many things where I just quoted along with this movie, and I'm seeing by your face you did too.
It's so funny that you said that though, because so I used to audition for acting gigs, and my two comedic monologues was the merchant from Aladdin, and I used to do Donkey from Shrek. I used to take those monologues and do those for auditions.
Wow, you know what? We're learning so much about you tonight, Wolf, and I'm not sure all of it's very flattering. I'm just going to put that out there. Donkey from Shrek. How many gigs did that get you?
Hey, it actually got me. It got me somewhere. So,
is that what you did for Tom?
Nope.
Good. Yeah. So when this movie first opens up, again, we meet the merchant, we go across the sands, and then we see Jafar, and there's a big, intro of he has found this basically a humble thief, and he has gotten the second half of the scarab, and I've got the shirt here with the scarab on it.
Yeah,
so he's found the second half of the scarab. He puts it together, and he's like, "Hey, guy, go in there and get me the lamp." And he's like, I'm not sure it's a good idea. And so the Cave of Wonders comes out of the ground, and there's this huge lion head, tiger head, and it's just like, he's like, only one may enter. So he's not the one. But first piece of trivia here, my friend, actually second, because the Bruce Adler thing was the first.
I had a feeling. Go ahead.
What was the name of the humble thief? And if you're in chat and you could tell us.
I knew it was coming. Oh, man.
You didn't know that was coming.
I did, and as soon as when you asked me that first question, I was like, "Oh, that's the."
You're like, "Oh crap! There's gonna be trivia." After you just bragging about, it's my favorite movie.
Man.
If Pixar didn't exist, I'd be Aladdin. Pops all behind me.
I don't. Oh man, I forget his name, and as soon as you say it, I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah."
Come on. I haven't seen anybody in chat say it either, so I'm guessing that nobody else has it either. So, you ready?
Yeah.
Kazim.
Yes.
I am but a humble thief.
Oh man.
Honestly, I was gonna ask you what Jafar's horse's name was, but Jafar's horse does not have a name, so you're lucky. You're lucky. Not only did they not say it, but it's in canon. It doesn't have a name, so just putting that out there. Anyway, so they're at the cave, and then the next thing he's like, "Oh, we got to find the diamond in the rough," And so by this point we've met Iago, we've met Jafar, we've met the merchant, we've met Kazim for a hot minute before he's. And so then we meet Aladdin, and then we get really into like the theatricality of it, with like one jump, which is so fun. And you hear that music in that game you were flexing a little while ago when you go into the marketplace, and it's just like, I honestly, in playing that Genesis game, I almost got sick of that song because I couldn't get past the level.
I was about to say that level's actually pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's not easy. So then, we meet him, and then Jasmine has another suitor for the princess. And then she escapes and goes to the market. Now, in the animated movie, she's out. Like, this is her runaway moment. She's just sick of it. She's going to run away. She doesn't want to be a bird in a cage. And she's out. And so she's headed towards the marketplace, and she gets there. I love the scene where she tries to give, get the apple for the little kid, and and thinks she's doing a good thing, and then they're gonna cut off her hand. And he's like, "Oh, it's my sister. She's a little crazy," and like when he pushes her into the camel, and it's like, "Oh, hello, doctor." Oh my gosh, it's so good. If I was Aladdin, I'd have married her on the spot. That was so funny when she did that. That was fantastic. So anyway, they escape the guards, and then, then all of a sudden they cut back to the palace, and we see the Sultan. And here's where I want to ask you about the animation. When you went back and watched this again, do you feel like the animation itself stands up? Am I being a hater?
I think I kind of feel like this was rushed just a little bit. In some scenes, it might have been a little rushed. I can see that. I can definitely see that.
So they did some of the stuff they did with Beauty and the Beast, where they did computer-generated animation mixed with the regular, hand-drawn animation. And don't get me wrong, I love hand-drawn animation. When they brought it back for The Princess and the Frog and Winnie the Pooh, I was just so ecstatic. And then they went away again because I don't know why. But I love hand-drawn animation. I think that skill was fantastic, and I think that I appreciate it more as an adult than I did as a kid. And I think that the truth is kids probably don't care. They just like the story, and they like the clean lines of how computer-generated has grown. But in this one, the Sultan's palace inside is all computer-generated, whereas the Sultan and Jafar. And when you have them in those situations, I feel like then you see a lot of the flaws in how it's done. And it felt very Saturday morning cartoonish, very Disney Toon at times.
No, someone that watched Aladdin, like the TV show, no.
Wasn't that bad?
The animation in the movie was better than that.
Well, and we'll talk about the sequels later, but the sequel animation was garbage. Absolute garbage. So anyway, so then we get into we are introduced to the fact that now we know Jafar is the royal vizier to the Sultan, and then the Sultan is trying to find a suitor for the princess, and we find out that that Jafar's got a little bit of magic behind him because he's got this snake staff that's kind of has this hypnotic effect on the Sultan, but then again, you see that animation, and it's kind of awesome to see the computer generated in 1992. I think that's kind of neat. So that throne room was really neat. So then, but in that scene, he steals the diamond, which I'm not sure I remember this part. He steals the diamond from the Sultan, and then he uses the diamond to find the diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Why did I not remember that scene?
I think it's so just random.
But it feels pivotal because they keep shoving down your throat, the diamond in the rough, the diamond in the rough. He's like, let me get a diamond, and I'll figure out who the diamond in the rough is.
Then I'll figure it out, yeah.
I don't know. It's just so... I guess I'd never really paid too much attention to that, but... so then at the same time, the guards have captured Aladdin. They put him in the dungeon, and Jafar has this whole thing where he's going to befriend him, lead him out into the desert, to the Cave of Wonders. He's going to give him everything, his rewards, his just rewards. But when he's doing that, he's got these nasty teeth. But then he pulls off his head, and the teeth are fine. That's something that's always been I don't think so.
Some fake teeth going on.
Yeah, I guess so. And he's got the trapdoor. I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit weird. So then he goes to and this is a problem that I'm going to have a little bit down the road here with both movies. This is exactly the same. They get into the Cave of Wonders opens up. He goes inside. The Cave of Wonders says only the diamond in the rough may enter, and yet he brings the monkey.
Yeah,
I feel like you're breaking the rules there.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought the same thing, that it's just like, one, does Abu count? Did was the Cave of Wonders so specific that it's like, no, I don't care about animals, but humans.
Well, and I mean, and a primate. Come on, I mean that feels like it's like too close to call.
Yeah.
He's like, and we know Abu is like his. He's not pure of heart because he doesn't want to share his bread with the kids, and he's taking the princess's stuff left and right. So we know he's not pure of heart. We know he's a little bit of a scamp. So when that happens, I'm like, is that allowed? Then Abu has the Star-Lord moment, which is so infuriating. And I guess that's what sends us down that path. But it's like, and for those of you who didn't see Infinity War, which, first of all, shame on you. Secondly, the fact that, Star-Lord messes the whole thing up when they're just about to, take over Thanos. But obviously you need that to be able to move forward. You just hate Star-Lord. And you just hate Abu. You're like, what were you doing? You said don't touch anything, and you touched it. You touched it.
So close.
Yeah, and so that's super frustrating. Now they make that really in the next movie more realistic, so we'll talk about that when we talk about that one. And then the genie shows up, and so by this time the movie's a third of the way over before we even see the genie, who, as I mentioned before, I feel like is the most pivotal part of the movie. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? Is the love story the most pivotal part?
I feel the exact same thing. And after the genie, it's very quick. Like, the movie's very quick after the genie. And I think it was also because of the fact that Robin was also just very quick and very witty with everything that he did. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, okay. By the way, I want to stop and say that we want to thank you guys for watching. Unplanned Downtime is the home of WDW News Tonight now. Please give us hit subscribe on this channel. We would love for you to come back again and again, watch. And we've got a great show for you next week on Deep in the Plus that we'll tell you about at the end because I'm so excited about next week's show. Not that I'm not excited about this one, Wolf. I love this one. But next week's show is going to be...
I get you.
Fantastic. Also, we have in the past been bribing our people to give us likes, and so we will open up. We did this actually. We did a Aladdin Wishable. This is my last Aladdin Wishable, but it feels like it needed to be opened for this show. So if we can get 50 likes, and we're pretty close now. We've got 31, and we've got 45 people watching. So if we can get 50 likes on this one,
there we go.
Then we will open this at the end, and someone will win this one. So, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. And that's my sales pitch on that. So when it comes to this movie and the music, let me ask you this: Be Our Guest is the big showstopper, for lack of a better term, in Beauty and the Beast. Under the Sea, I feel like, is the big showstopper in Little Mermaid. For this movie, is it Friend Like Me or is it Prince Ali?
That's difficult. Man, I would say Friend Like Me.
Okay.
I would say Friend Like Me, but honestly, both of them.
Yes, sir. We pride ourselves on service. I like every bit of it. Like, I just, I can't get it out of my head when I'm doing it.
You know what it is? I feel like this movie in particular was very structured like a Broadway show. So it would have been Friend Like Me and then had an intermission. And then we would have came back with a punch with Prince Ali.
Fair.
I think that's what it kind of did. Yeah.
I totally see that. Yeah. So in this moment, Abu has grabbed the jewel that he shouldn't have grabbed. The Cave of Wonders gets mad, shuts it. He's like, shut it down, we're done. Aladdin tries to get out with the carpet. He can't make it. And then he comes, they all fall down, and he's got the lamp, and now he meets the genie. He tricks the genie into letting him out. But couldn't he have used the carpet to get out? Because that's all the genie really does. I mean, he blows through the top, but...
I think he blows through the top. I think that's the key there.
I don't know. Dawn said in chat that she loves Abu the elephant.
Yeah.
I agree, but here again I have a problem. Why did he have to turn Abu into the elephant when he can just conjure up this entire coterie? Like, why did Abu have to take one for the team here and let Aladdin ride him through town and be an elephant for most of the movie after that, when he can make elephants and birds and everything else?
I think that was very much just Genie being Genie. Just because he can. And also, it might have been a punishment. We were just talking about the fact that Abu kind of messed everything up.
True. That is true. So with Friend Like Me and with with the whole transformation of Aladdin, there are a lot of Easter eggs, and that, to me, this was the first movie that really stood out to me as just like throwing all of these Easter eggs out there, and they're not just like these really weird hidden things like Pixar does sometimes, where like in Luca you really got to pause to see what the Pizza Planet truck looks like in this alleyway up here. This was like in your face, like Pinocchio. I guess Lilo and Stitch did it, but also like in this one, I feel like it was just all over the place. They had the Beast was in it. You had he wore the Goofy hat at the end. He did the, Aladdin, you just won the heart of the princess. Now what are you gonna do? I mean, like all these little tells, the Sebastian, like the King Crab thing. I mean, it's just brilliant, right?
Yeah, they did such a good job with just adding these little tiny touches.
And you feel so smart when you see them sometimes, because you're like, I caught it. This one is the one I'm talking about with the Beast. So when the Sultan is stacking up all his little like toys in his menagerie, the Beast is in there as they're panning up, and it's so cool. I mean, that's the most hidden one of all of them, though, because you really got to pause on that one. The rest of them, like Sebastian, he's like wiggling his hand when Pinocchio.
Yeah, you can see him.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I just really, I think that's again what brought this movie to life for me. And the one thing I wonder about, though, do those jokes stand the test of time? There's an actual extra on DisneyPlus where Scott Weinger talks about Genie 101, and he has to explain to you who's Rodney Dangerfield, who's Jack Nicholson, who's Groucho Marx.
Yeah.
Like, do they stand the test of time?
I think those type of, like Easter eggs or those type of impressions, I think, is the reason why, no, it doesn't for this particular movie. But going forward, like I said, I love the different interpretations of Genie that they've been able to do, because they keep that, but they modernize it. So they do impressions, like all the genies do impressions of like people now, and and it's things that people would be like, oh my gosh, it's funny because I know who that person is, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I saw Aladdin on Broadway, and the genie has a whole bit where he kind of breaks out and does all the, like a lot of pop culture references, and they can keep it up to date. On the cruise ship, I believe they had an Aladdin show and the same thing, and then the one at the Hyperion Theater that they did at Disneyland. But I feel like it's kind of like in some cases it's like the Great Movie Ride. Like a lot of those scenes, some people are like, oh well, these are outdated references, but they were classic movies, right? And so I think these are a lot of classic impressions. I think Jack Nicholson's a classic impression. I think, like, I didn't grow up with Groucho Marx, but I know who Groucho Marx is, because it's like the Vlasic pickle stork is fashioned after him. I mean, it's like there's weirdness about like a character like that lives forever in time. So I don't know. I guess I just wondered, like as years have gone on, like if those things really kind of kept up. But that was kind of part of the magic again that Robin Williams brought to this. And the lore that I heard, and you tell me if you're on the same page, is that Robin Williams really kind of like fleshed all of this out because of his brand of like, kind of like short attention span theater humor, where he would just like is all over the place, and and that he brought so much to this and really kind of made this movie what it was. And then he kind of, I think that he wanted more money afterwards, and they said no, and they burned that bridge, and then thankfully they mended that before it was all over, because in The Return of Jafar, Dan Castellaneta, who is the voice of Homer Simpson, ends up voicing the genie, and it just feels like Homer Simpson is the genie.
Yep. So from what I know and from what I've heard, um, he the only caveat that he had about doing Aladdin was that he didn't necessarily want people to know that it was him. Because at the time, you got to think about it. At the time, Robin was doing very much adult, humor, adult comedy. He wasn't known yet for doing family friendly. Yes, he was in Mork and Mindy and stuff like that to get to get to get where he was, but he was still very much adult. So he didn't want the character to be prominent. And Disney, because of the fact that they got Robin Williams, put, like, if you look at the original not the original Robin Williams poster, the original Aladdin poster, Genie's up in the center, very big compared to everyone else in the cast, and he didn't like that because he said he signed up for the role because of the fact that they agreed that Genie would not be a prominent feature in advertisement. But that's what I've heard.
Well, so and I think that and I tried to, let's see if I can find this here to pull it up. I get what you're saying, but like I said to you, I feel like the Genie like kind of is this movie. So when he's it's a third of the way through and you finally see him. But I mean, it's called Aladdin. It's kind of the love story between Aladdin and Jasmine, and it's kind of starring the Genie. So yeah, I absolutely see that. But again, that's what I had heard was that that he did it for scale and that he wanted more money. So I mean, it could have been either or. But he became a Disney legend, and I got to see him at D23 accept his Disney Legend Award. And the funny part is, it was like when D23 first started, and I was there, and I went to the Legends ceremony, and I was like, oh, these people aren't going to be here. And the fact that Robin Williams was actually there blew my mind, and it was the only time I can at least say I was in a room with him. But when you look at the Disney Plus catalog, and I searched Robin Williams, and you see Christopher Robin, Robin Hood, all this at the bottom. But here's Aladdin, Mrs. Doubtfire, Jack, Flubber, and Old Dogs. So I mean, he had a history with them. Not to mention, you said something about Mork and Mindy, which was an ABC show, which Disney owns ABC. So there's a lot of ties with him to the company, and he really truly was a Disney legend. To me, Flubber was just an amazing movie for him. Mrs. Doubtfire, obviously crazy, and we, I say we as if I'm, on Team Disney, picked that up with the 20th Century Fox buy. Remember when we picked that up, Wolf? Remember when we picked that up? That was a good pull for us for $74 billion. I think we did pretty well there.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously Robin Williams, huge part of this. And if you see any of the behind the scenes in him, it's amazing. And he was just,
it's so fun.
Obviously gone too soon, and it's very sad. The other kind of hidden thing that I want to say before we go on to the next stuff is that Clements and Musker, who directed so many of these amazing movies and then came in to do Moana, one of their things is they love to put themselves into the movie, and this was them in the movie. Which again, here's that animation though, and this is where I look at it and go, this looks super, like the animation on these faces looks super Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, the guy on the right is really wonky.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little icky. Anyway, I and again, I'm not complaining too much here because at the time I wasn't going, this animation. I mean, this was, I think, really super well done. So as we move through, you have Prince Ali, and he's made his real first wish, which is to be a prince, and you have the whole thing. And I learned a bunch of songs, a bunch of words in these songs. I think Howard Ashman was a genius. And if you watch, Axel and I did a Deep in the Plus about the Howard movie, which originally I thought was about Howard the Duck, but it was not. It was about Howard Ashman. And it's really just shows that he was just a genius, and that he kind of pushed these movies in a certain direction and had a lot of thought into how they were going to play out. But the words in this, like genuflect and coterie, as a little kid, I don't know what these are. I don't know what these words are, but they're just, it was so smart, you know, and it wasn't talking down to people with them. So
Correct.
So the next trivia question for you, sir.
Let's do it.
How many peacocks are there?
Oh man, now I'm singing the song.
You're singing the song in your head. Don't sing it out loud. I don't want to get popped, but you're singing the song in your head.
Oh man.
How many peacocks? He got the monkeys.
Oh my gosh. Is it 99?
Come on, Wolf. 53. And with peacocks, he has 53.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to the drawing board, man. You gotta watch it again. Watch it again.
I do. I definitely do.
Okay, so again, the music is just amazing, and there was a song that was cut out of this, which was "Proud of Your Boy," which was not in. I thought it was going to be in the live version because this show took the same arc that Lion King did, where it was this beloved animation, then took the arc into Broadway, and then into live action. And when it went into Broadway, "Proud of Your Boy" was part of that. Now,
it's part of it.
I feel, yeah. So if you had the DVD version, and again, to use an overused phrase, kids look it up, DVDs. But if you had the DVD version of it when it re-released, it had Clay Aiken, of all people, singing "Proud of Your Boy," which is a very cool version of that song. But on Broadway, it is just, I don't know. I love that song. We were joking around before the show that I couldn't stop singing it. Still got it in my head. You're going to be singing about 53 Peacocks. I'm going to be singing about "Proud of Your Boy."
Yeah.
So it's such a good song. I wish they had put it into the second movie, and they didn't. But it was on Broadway, and it did live on. So with that said, what is your favorite? That song. What is your favorite of all the music?
Man. I really like Robin Williams' "Friend Like Me." I really do. "Proud of Your Boy" is probably a close second, honestly. As much as I like, A Whole New World, it's not up there for me, like in all around like Disney songs. It's not that up there for me, but
boy, are you gonna hate Harmonious.
Not as much as people hate Epcot Forever.
Epcot Forever. True. Yeah. So I love all of this music, but "Part of Your World" is my song, and not "Part of Your World." That's actually "A Whole New World" is the song I meant to say. "Part of Your World" is "Little Mermaid." "A Whole New World." And it's just, I can't not sing along to it. And as a matter of fact, again, when I'm watching the movie, there's a part where there's a stork flying as they're going through on the magic carpet. And it's like, there's a part where the stork just goes, "Rah!" and I do that when I'm singing it. Like I still do that part. It's like unbelievable sights, "Rah!" indescribable. I have a problem. I just literally have a problem. So, but again, good, One Jump, really good. Just "Proud of Your Boy" cut, but it's really good. There's not a villain song in this one. Ursula had "Poor Unfortunate Souls," and Scar had "Be Prepared," but there's not really a villain song in this one, is there?
Jafar sings like a reprise.
Oh, the Prince Ali.
Yeah, he sings the Prince Ali reprise
for free.
Yeah, which is like, I gotta say, like you have someone that's a Broadway, star, and you don't give them a song, Frozen. It's good. It's good that they at least gave him something.
Yeah. So there's the whole thing from here is that he comes in, he bumbles it with he whiffs it with Jasmine, and then he comes back, and when he does the whole "Do you trust me?" she sees that it's him, and then they take their flight, and then he lies to her, which again is like that's common storytelling in almost every situation. Is the whole you didn't really need to lie, and you did tell the lie, and it's going to come back to you at the beginning of the third act, right? Like that's always the way this happens, always, always, always. And sometimes when you rewatch stuff, you're like,
even after Genie was like, "Be yourself, be yourself."
That's what I was going to say. That is different about this movie is that he warns him. That they warn him. It's like, what are you doing? Why do you have to lie to her? Why can't you just tell her the truth? And so. Tell the truth. Like, I mean, all of those little things that he does, and that's such a good message. But again, the story doesn't really happen, I guess, as in the same way if he doesn't do that. But she forgives him. There are situations where, in that moment, he doesn't get forgiven, and then he has to earn his way back in. Now, he does earn his way back in, but I don't really feel like there was a time where she was like, going to cut him loose.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It was very. You saved the day, so I'm okay with everything now.
Yeah,
very weird.
So, I mean, to summarize it for everybody who's already seen this whole thing, the lie comes out. Jasmine has to kiss Jafar, which is weird, and then Aladdin wins, and then the genie goes free. So now the next question is, why does the genie still have powers?
I think it's more of a genie having powers just in general, and because he has the cuffs, he is chained to a master. Then because he takes off his cuffs, he doesn't have the magic. Like, the cuffs aren't the magic. The genie is magic, so that's how I think about it, at least.
But it's all part and parcel. Phenomenal cosmic powers, itty-bitty living space.
Itty-bitty living space.
So I would argue that he shouldn't have the powers anymore. If he's been set free from the shackles and the lamp and all of it, because it all comes together, and they talk about that over and over again, which is the catalyst for catching Jafar, is that that you can't have one without the other, and yet he gets to walk off with his powers and fly off, and the made you look and all of that stuff. So I think there's a flaw here, which is remedied in the next movie, but I think there's a flaw here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
I feel you.
So, again, 24 minutes of extra footage, extras on DisneyPlus. Again, applaud DisneyPlus for that, because they don't always put extras on there, including the Genie 101 pop culture references explained by Scott Weinger, who, I don't know. It's a little cringy.
Can I mention that one episode of Full House that they go to Disney and Scott dresses up as Aladdin? Such a good...
Yeah, because DJ sees Scott everywhere. That was the bit, is DJ sees Scott everywhere, right? She's like, yes, that even looks like Scott over there. And he's like... Yeah. Okay, so... different from the Lion King verses that we did, like I said at the beginning, they were basically two animated movies because they had two different voice casts. In this one, it's different because you've got an actual live action cast. So I think that's a little bit different in this one to start with. Secondly, I think that it was amazing that they took such care to cast an authentic cast.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I think they were actually watched pretty carefully by the internet about that. Like, wait, who are you going to cast for that? Okay, I'll let it slide. So Will Smith was one of the choices that everybody was like, what? I'm not really sure. And honestly, yeah, exactly. When they, when they first cast Ben Affleck as Batman, and they were like, okay, I see it. And then they're like, here's Robert Pattinson as Batman. And you're like, I mean, so I mean, in this particular case, I think that it did pan out, but we could talk about that as we move into it. So the 2019 movie came out in 2019. It was PG instead of G. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it was 45 minutes longer than the original. And so I thought, and like Broadway, it has extra songs, but they're not the songs from Broadway.
Yes.
Like, I Won't Be Speechless. Like, I don't think that's in the Broadway show. But then there's like a thing about her being in a cage and like the birds in the cage, and that's on Broadway. And Proud of Your Boy. And then the other thing that's weird about the Broadway one is he's got like 3 friends, which again doesn't happen here. This one's a little bit more true to the movie. But this in its essence, this does feel to me. And have you said you have seen the Broadway or you haven't seen the Broadway?
I haven't seen the Broadway, actually.
Okay. In this, to me, it really feels like a more of a retelling of the Broadway story than it does the animated story because of it being, a little bit more real world. Like Agrabah looks like a city that could exist, as opposed to this like city in the clouds-ish type of a situation.
Yeah, honestly, that in the animated movie it was very much just a city, just really not connected to anything. They made this one a seaside, seaside country or whatever.
So when this one opens up, it opens up with the merchant, but instead of being in like a town or coming across the desert, he's on a boat on the water, like you said, seaside.
Yep.
And the boat kind of looks like a lamp, which is kind of cool. But you get this like bait and switch where you see this big boat and they come around the side and it's like this itty bitty boat. And so then we see Will Smith at this point. Nassim Petarad, who plays Delilah, is like she has her back. No, Dahlia, right? Dahlia. She has her back to us, so we don't know that it's her at the time, but we know that it's Will Smith, and he starts to tell the story, which brings that merchant theory together. Like that's that. Like we're okay, we see it, and then he like takes you across to the like the gesture of another Arabian night, and it goes across, but the words are different.
Yes,
which
they are.
I find interesting because remember we talked about how Scar changed the words, not for the better. This one, I didn't mind it.
This one I didn't mind either. The funny thing is, the fact that you mentioned that Robin Williams did not sing Arabian Nights in the animated movie, I don't think Will Smith should have sang Arabian Nights in this movie. The key was just a little off for him. But yeah, lyric-wise, I like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, just making sure. But I mean that happens several times in this movie where they change the words just a little bit, which is good. But in the original, it was Alan Menken score, Alan Menken music, Howard Ashman words, and then Tim Rice stepped in to fill in the gaps where they needed to. But that I don't know. It starts out pretty strong for me, I feel like, and then when in this one, Jafar is a lot darker. They pan across to the situation with the Cave of Wonders, but they don't get into the whole thing a lot, which I think is cool because it's like, hey, you already know what's happening over here.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of those things where I was like, okay, that's cool. Like you're not re-explaining to me the whole thing about like the Cave of Wonders. There's no explanation. It's this long shot where as the Arabian Nights is playing, and this is a Guy Ritchie thing. I think this one shot camera shot where they go through and wind through Agrabah and they're introducing you to everything as the song's going on and the credits are rolling with much better text graphics, by the way. You're going through and you see Jasmine and you see the Sultan and you see the situation by the Cave of Wonders, and so they don't. It's kind of like I love how in Spider-Man Homecoming they didn't have to retell his origin. You're like, okay, we get it. It's Uncle Ben. Great power comes great responsibility. Aunt May has powers. Spider, we're done. They didn't retell it, but they hinted around to it, and I think that was kind of cool that they did that this way. They could have done shot for shot like they did in The Lion King, which again, no thank you.
No. We need something new. We need something different.
Yeah, and I think Guy Ritchie really brought that to this. So you see, Abu and Iago and Raja are all introduced in this one shot, which I was thinking, are they going to do that? Are they going to have Abu? Are they going to have Raja? And they did, and I think they worked well. Do you agree, or do you think they kind of shoved them in?
No, I think it worked really, really well. I didn't necessarily like the voice of Iago. but whatever.
Next trivia question: do you know who the voice of Iago was in the live action?
I have his face in my. Oh man.
Obviously, it was Gilbert Gottfried, and I can't. I mean, he's great. Anyway, I can't do a good Gilbert Gottfried impression, but he was great as Iago, and the whole idea that he was like the Polly Want a Cracker thing, and then comes off as like just this snarky character, which again is to your point very different. It was Alan Tudyk who does the voices of all of the. He is like their Lucky Charm in the Disney animated movies because he was the Duke of Weselton. He was Duke Weaselton.
He was Hey.
Hey. Everybody remembers he was Hey Hey. But another cool voice thing is that in the original movie, Frank Welker did the voice of Abu. Frank Welker is an amazing voice actor. If you look at his IMDb, it's like 865 like credits to his name. I can't imagine that anyone has more. And he is just an amazing voice actor. And when Don Messick was no longer able to do Scooby-Doo, Frank Welker had always done Fred on Scooby-Doo, and he did both. He did both of those voices. So it's really neat to me that he was Abu. He's actually, if you ever watch the movie Tommy Boy, there's a deer in the back seat that like they thought they killed, and then it comes to life and moves around. He's credited as the voice of that. So he does a lot of animal voices. He was the voice of Abu. But the cool thing is, in Lion King, they bring back James Earl Jones to do the voice of Mufasa from both. In this one, they bring Frank Welker back not to do Abu, but what else did he voice in both movies?
Raja?
No. Seek thee out, the diamond in the rough.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the Cave of Wonders.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty cool.
In both movies, yeah. So again, Frank Welker, amazing voice actor. I love voice actors, especially when we come to like the parks and thinking about Thurl Ravenscroft and just some of the geniuses who were involved with those. But Frank Welker is amazing. So they do this whole pan through, and then we meet everybody, and then then we meet Jafar, and we realize he's kind of a dick. He's kind of awful. He decides to just like, this guy's no use to him, and he kills him. Like, that's really setting the stage for who Jafar is in this movie. He's not just like evil. He's evil. Like, he's bad.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that.
My thing with Jafar in the live action is that I don't necessarily like his voice. It wasn't as I think in the animated movie, like, Jafar's voice is very menacing. In this movie, not so much. I don't know about that. It just, as soon as he opened his mouth and he spoke in theater, I was like, oh, okay. So it was a little weird. It was a little weird for me.
Archfox is talking about Firefly in chat, I assume, because Alan Tudyk was Wash, the pilot in Firefly. So, okay, yeah, and I mean, Jonathan Freeman's voice is fantastic, and that's why I think they recast him as Jafar in the Aladdin Broadway show, and again, because that's where he got his chops. And I got to see him on stage as Jafar, and that was incredible because he is just so good. But
that's fun.
in this one, I think that they're making this very real world. And like I said, I feel like they've resolved a lot of problems that felt, going back to it, it didn't seem to stand up, like the whole, like the little issues about the genie still has powers afterwards and all that. But the fact that he's like, he's this scrappy guy who, he has a backstory now. It's like, why does he want all this power? Because he never had it, and he's been clawing himself up to be number one. And the thing that he can't stand is not, it's kind of like, I think of Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. So when this whole thing's happening, you get his motivation. So then you find that you've got we meet Jasmine's in the market already. We have no explanations of that. It's not the whole thing about, oh, I'm caged and I want to get out of here. She's just in the market. And then you meet Aladdin, and he's wearing a shirt. What the heck? I mean, That's not hashtag not my Aladdin. I mean, again, going back to this picture, I mean, this is Aladdin's supposed to just be wearing the vest and no shirt. And actually, in the Broadway one, I believe that's the case, is that he's just wearing the vest and no shirt in most of the tellings. But in this one,
I think so too.
They've done a good job of making the costume very real world, and he is actually wearing a shirt under his signature vest.
Yeah.
What
My
do you think
thing
about
with the
casting?
costumes. Oh, so casting, I like him. I think there could have been better choices for Aladdin, personally. But after seeing the movie, I think he did okay. He did okay.
And you were talking about costumes?
My only thing with Aladdin's costume is the fact that, like, they kind of inverted the colors. So he's wearing, like, a red vest. Just because of the fact of how it looks, and it's such an iconic, like, visual of looking at Aladdin, I would have wanted the purple vest and the red hat. But they inverted them for some reason, and it kind of threw me off the first time I saw, like, an image. I was like, yeah, that's Aladdin, but why did they do that?
Yeah.
But I like his costume, like, the costume designs look cool.
Yeah, and you know what? I also think that while I do think that those real world costumes are very cool, I think that when they become, when he becomes Prince Ali, and this is a bad picture, but in this one, I think the Prince Ali is pretty spot on, and I think her Jasmine outfit is pretty spot on at that point too. Like, I think that that's them come to life.
Yeah.
Which again, is kind of cool that they didn't feel like they had to do that the whole time. The other thing they talked about, that is talked about, is that in the genie's costume, because this is really smart to me, is that Will Smith could have been blue the entire movie, but they made this choice to say, hey, you need to blend in, and then he takes on a normal skin tone, but then at the same time, all of his clothes are this blue. And so that, like, he's the genie in blue without having to walk around being CGI or in makeup or the whole deal. And I think when we all saw the original stuff with, like, the magazine cover with Will Smith in the blue genie, we were like, I don't think this is a good idea.
And I like the fact that they were cautious enough, and they knew, because if you notice also in the movie, every single time that Will Smith is playing the genie in, like, the regular skin tone and everything, there's no one else in that scene wearing that shade of blue.
Yep.
So it's very easy to identify where he is in scenes and everything. Like, they did such a good job with that.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk one more thing that's a major shift in this movie versus the cartoon, is that this is not a damsel in distress. This is not Jasmine looking. The only thing that she's she's kind of whiny about, like, I don't want to marry him. You should change that stupid role. And again, that's valid. But in this one, it's bigger. Yeah. It's much bigger than that. She's like, I don't need a guy to rule. Like, I can rule. I got this. I've been looking at the playbook. I can call this. I can rule. That's the rule we need to change, is that for me to be Sultan. And I love that about this movie, and I think it's a lot more. She's a lot more powerful a character, I think, in this one. Not that Jasmine was a pushover in the animated, because she actually is,
not at all.
Again, she's a very strong role model. She's a very strong woman. She's fighting. She's like, I can't be bought. I'm not your typical princess. All this other stuff. But I think in this one, there's a shift that is really powerful, and I kind of like. I love that she's like, I won't be speechless. That's the song from this one that she comes back to again, and it's just like, hey, and she goes to, in the end, I mean, she's the one that pulls it together in a very weird scene that I want to talk about in a second. But I mean, that really stands out as, like, this is what they wanted Jasmine to be in this movie, is like it's more her, her story of, fighting the system.
And I think the more Disney does these live action retellings of their classic animated movies, you're gonna see that a little more, because of the fact that, like, most of the princesses were kind of just there. Even in the movies that, like, this movie was actually one of the I think if not the first, I think it's the only movie that the princess's name or the princess is not like a prominent character. Like this movie's called Aladdin, but we have a Disney princess in this movie. Everyone
Frozen,
else
Tangled.
has their own. Yeah, like even those, but like those are even talking about like those specific characters. Like this one, you look at this movie and you're like, oh, this has a princess in it. And it's like, yeah, this.
Well, but Tangled could have been called Rapunzel, and that would have been all about her. But because it becomes Tangled, it's really kind of about Flynn Rider, and it's about her. So one of the things I want to ask you is, and I'm setting you up here 100%, is
Do it.
Is Will Smith a good genie?
Okay.
Let me give you some room.
Okay. So, like I said, I love Robin Williams' Genie. I love Robin Williams' Genie. I haven't seen the Broadway, but I've seen most of the Genies, most of their like segments I've seen, and I love that. I think the key thing with Will Smith and Will Smith's Genie was the fact that they modernized the whole movie just a tad, that gives Will Smith the ability to be Will Smith and not kind of like mess up what the genie is. And like you mentioned, the fact that he is able to not be blue the whole time actually helps so much with what Will Smith did with the genie. I was not a fan at first. I wasn't even a fan when they announced, let alone that image right there. Let alone that image. But even when he was cast, I was like this isn't. You're right, Regis. But even when he was cast, I was very much hesitant because I was like, that's not what Will Smith does, which is kind of like if you think about like The Rock. As much as people say like The Rock has different, like he can act and stuff, The Rock plays The Rock in every single thing that he does. Will Smith plays Will Smith in everything that he does, and it was very much just not what I wanted for the genie. But everything that they changed, I think, changed it for the better. And it was at least acceptable. And I enjoyed, I will say it, I enjoyed Will Smith as the genie.
Well, the reason I said it's a setup is that Patrick is in chat just tearing up, saying that Will Smith is great in your face. Everybody's like, no, he wasn't a good genie. He's battling on his own. He's in chat going, he's good. I'll fight you. So Patrick, thanks for fighting the good fight, because I agree with you. I think that I saw this and was like, you have got to be kidding me. Again, hashtag not my genie.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, that's gonna be a little weird. But it was gonna be weird anyway. I don't honestly know who would have been better for that, but because they made it kind of it's different.
Correct.
And he does a lot of the same things. He does a lot of the same bits and routines, but he just does a good job of it, I think. And so, and to your point, he is just being Will Smith in it. He really is.
Correct.
I mean, I get like, Fresh Prince vibes from some of it when he's trying to sing on the boat. Like there was something about it that just felt very, Fresh Prince about that. But
yeah, but again, because of the fact that they modernized the whole story and the whole movie just a tad, like there's modern elements throughout the whole film, including the music, which I think helped Will Smith be himself and be able to just add his flavor into, Aladdin, than him having to fit a mold that he's not used to fitting into.
Okay. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let me flash through some other stuff here because I know we're running short on time. The touch nothing but the lamp, and yet in there they can't not touch stuff. When they're walking through in this movie, and by the way, the other thing is that
Oh yeah.
that Aladdin goes willingly at this point into this one because Jafar kind of like gives him like this like kind of this mind like game where he says, hey, you know what, people like us, we got to stick together. You want the princess, this is the way you're going to do it. And he's like, you know what, you're right, I do deserve better, let me go in and get that for you. As opposed to in the first one, it's like it's all trickery. This one, it's kind of trickery, but he's just like kind of going, hey, look, I'm a straight shooter, go get it, we'll figure this out together. So I thought that was interesting. And then when he gets in the first one, he's like very trying not to touch things, and in this one they touch kind of everything. Like there's like money falling when they touch every rock and everything else. And then there's the other thing that says it's harder than you think not to touch stuff, and he gets like entranced with it. So it's almost like saying, hey, there's something hypnotic about this stuff that is tempting you on purpose from getting the lamp and like just trying to distract you. So I did think it was neat the way they did that, but still, Abu screws it up.
Of course.
And he tries to help Aladdin because it's like there's that one little scene which I love where he's like reaching for like the thing, and Abu just smacks him in the face, and like just a little monkey slap. And I was like, "Ah, that's adorable. Good way to go, Abu. You're gonna be a good guy in this one." Nope.
No.
Yeah, and then so I love when the genie appears, again, about a third of the way through the movie. Weird, because they're different lengths. He false starts, to use a football term, the song. Like, he's like, gonna get into it, and it's like, nah. And he's like, oh, that's not enough for you? And it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's get everybody up. And it's great. It's great. I mean, I think it's really cool, the way they put that song together. And again, it feels like only something that that Robin Williams could have done, but I think that Will Smith puts his own spin on it.
That one's not my favorite.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
So then, but I mean, it's tough to fill those shoes, so I think it was really well done.
Correct.
And then the other thing about that scene is that in the first one, Aladdin's just sitting there like in awe, and he's getting pushed around and all this other stuff. In this one, the Aladdin gets into it with him. He's like, "All right, let's go, let's move, let's dance." And so it's like he's getting into it with him, which is kind of cool. And then there's this drawing of. He shows a drawing of it's Aladdin, the Sultan, and the genie, and it's from the animated, which I thought was a nice touch to put that into the live-action movie. But then they go out and they break free, and it's a different kind of a trick. In the first one, he never says "I wish." In the second one, he never touched the lamp when he tricks the genie into giving him the wish for free.
True.
So then. I think it's genius, again, like we talked about earlier, to make him look normal so that Will Smith doesn't have to. And there's a scene about it that, he says, hey, can you look normal? He's like, yeah, I can. He's like, you're still blue. And he's like, oh, I can fix that. But I love the scene, the joke, where he's like, it's a whole gray area about make you a prince. He's like, I mean, I could make you a prince. And then the guy's like, he's like, yo, can I go? Like, I mean, that kind of humor I thought was very funny that he was still standing there after all that time. I would love to know who that was. Like, I'm sure he's credited somewhere. I have no idea who that was. And then when they get to the part where they get into the castle, and he makes such a bad impression, more so than in the animated. In the animated, he's just kind of a heel because he's saying the wrong things to Jasmine. In this one, he's just bad.
He's yeah.
And I love the genie line where he's like, "That I've been around for 10,000 years. That is the most embarrassed I've ever been in my entire life."
Yep.
Again, just and I don't know. I think that reminds me of Will Smith in Hitch when he's like trying to teach Kevin James dance. He's like, "No, this is you. This is where you live, right here. This is you." Because I mean, it's like he's trying to teach him and he can't be taught. Although, and that's the whole joke, he can be taught. And then the sub story with the genie and Dahlia, that's so cool. Like that, there's like he's got new motivation. That. Yeah. And then the Bollywood style dance that they do, I feel like really fits this whole theme too, and that was really well done. It's a little cringe when he's doing the whole thing like this to make him dance, and he's doing this kind of thing. But the dance itself, I think, is really well done.
Yep.
And then, so then they do the magic carpet. I love the part where she's trying to find Agrabah on a map, and he puts Fantasyland on the map. I think that's really neat.
Yes.
Anyway, so from this point on, it's very similar to the original. Jafar dumps him in the ocean. The monkey saves him. Then he breaks the staff, and then Jafar gets thrown, outcast. Then he tries to come clean in both of them, but it's just like, no, wait. In this one, it's like he's trying to come clean. He's like, you are the most honest person I've ever met in my entire life. And he and Will Smith are looking at each other going, awkward. So he never gets to do that. Here's where things fall apart for me. When Jafar gets the lamp, and I love the way he got the lamp in this one, that he wasn't relying on Iago to get it, but that he took it upon himself to get it in the marketplace. When he gets the lamp, and he becomes Sultan, he says, I wish to become Sultan, and all his clothes change. No one has to follow him at this point, though. And they do. It feels very Wakanda.
Yeah.
Like, we're following him because of, but they,
because
like,
of the
he
fact
could
that
go,
he's Sultan.
I'm Sultan now, and they could go, no, he's not, kill him. He hadn't become a sorcerer yet. That seemed weird to me. It seemed like there wasn't enough motivation other than to just claim that you're the Sultan.
Correct, yeah.
So then this is when Jasmine does her speechless. Weird scene with everybody turning to dust in the air. That was weird.
Yeah.
And then she comes back and says Hakim, and this is the moment where she shows that she could be the true Sultan. And then he comes back over to her side, but then he's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to be a sorcerer. And then he becomes a sorcerer. So at this point, when he finally outs Aladdin and sends him away, why is the genie empowered to send Carpet to get Aladdin?
I don't know.
I need more from you than that, Wolf.
Man.
I hate to put you on the hot seat here, but
I don't know, because it is very weird because of the fact that he is now serving Jafar.
Yes.
But
why?
he also still has quote unquote free will and free will to use magic. So it was that part, I will agree, that part was very confusing, because it's like, yes, you're now serving this guy, but then at the same time you're gonna help this other guy. Why don't you? Do you have to serve Jafar?
Yeah, it's weird. And then the other thing is that once he puts the lamp in his pocket, and then she steals the that's the thing throughout both these movies. Let's talk about that for 1 second. Again, I know we're kind of going over here, but we're talking about two movies here. One of the things that drives me bananas is that in a culture where they're trying, people are stealing from each other, and they show this in this scene where the one woman's trying to distract him in the marketplace and take something, and then he takes something back from her. I mean, it's a situation. It's not the culture. It's a situation where they're trying to, take something. I mean, no one seems to care about their valuables. In every situation where the lamp changes hands, it's because somebody just put it in their pocket. Like when in the first one, when Aladdin gets to the top and Jafar takes the lamp and he puts it in his pocket, and then he breaks out the dagger and is going to kill him. I would hold on to that for dear life.
Right?
Why are they so careless with these things? And then the same thing in the marketplace when he's got it, Prince Ali or Aladdin has it in his pocket and Jafar takes it from him. Or when you've got the same situation with when she goes in to kiss him and takes it out of his pocket.
Yeah.
It's just, they're so careless with it. This is the greatest power of all time, and they're so careless with it.
It drives me nuts. It does. It just drives me nuts.
So not just me. Cool.
No.
Anyway, so the thing is, though, that movie could have ended there because he got the lamp back. He could have taken the lamp, wished the genie free, brought all this to an end. But instead, they have to get the lamp back so that he can then do the same trick that he did in the first movie, where he tricks him into becoming a genie.
Yep.
So he tricks him into becoming a genie. He does that. I think that the animation on that with Jafar was great, with him turning into a genie.
That was really cool.
And then he takes Iago with him into the lamp, and, cue the live-action version of The Return of Jafar, coming soon.
Right? Hey.
No, let's not do that. So, then at the end, he lets the genie free, and again, some of the lines are the same, just like The Lion King, but only some. Like where he's like, tell me to do something, and he's like, okay, I want to do this, and he's like, no. So, so he's free now. But after that, we never really see him doing magic again. Which again, I feel like that's the way it should have been. He lost the shackles. He's not tied to the lamp. He's free.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the boat, and you see Nassim Petarad turn around and like, oh wow, okay, so it's Dahlia's there, and this all came to be, and everybody lived happily ever after. And then of course, Bollywood ending. Oh.
Yep.
And then Will Smith, and this is happening, and that's great. Here's the thing,
I actually like that song.
I was about to say, every Will Smith movie seems to end with him like, Men in Black, Wild Wild West,
Yep.
like all of them end up with him. They're like, hey, Will Smith, we want you in this movie. Yes, you can do the end title, the end credit song. Yes, we'll let you do that. But I don't disagree with you. I jam with it. I love it.
I like that one.
So I mean, it's pretty fun. I do like that. One of the things before we get to the end of this, and we talk about it, is that Aladdin itself has had a lot of impact on Disney parks, and we talked about obviously the Broadway show, which is coming back, whereas the Frozen one is not. One of the things that they had at Disney Quest, and I don't know if you ever got to do this, Wolf, but they had the VR, which were the most uncomfortable helmets that you've ever put on in your entire life. And the experience of it, the animation was kind of bad and pixelated and typical late 90s VR, but it was a cool thing.
It was.
So then you can meet the characters in the park, and I'm not sure I agree with the sizes of these characters. Like Abu,
one in particular.
Maybe Abu. Maybe that's the problem. Also, if the genie's been freed at this point, why does he still have his cuffs on? I don't know.
I think that's one of those Beauty and the Beast things. It's like, you guys can meet him as the Beast.
That's fair. But I mean, and in that case, like, why is Jafar not a face character if the rest of them are?
Oh, I know. I would love Jafar to be a face character.
At the Hyperion in California, they had the Aladdin show that was there for so long, and again, that was a really neat show. I liked the Frozen show. I don't think that's coming back, but that was really neat to see that. And then you could meet. I don't know if this is the one. I don't think this is the one. Never mind. I was gonna say you can meet Aladdin and Jasmine in two places. You can meet them in Agrabah Bazaar in
Magic Kingdom
in Adventureland, or you can meet them in Morocco. And I think that we all feel like Morocco is going to become a little bit more Aladdin than it used to be now that Disney has taken it over. But we've also got the magic carpets of Aladdin with the spitting camels, and the spitting camels were part of Aladdin's Royal Caravan Parade back in the day. And then there was also the soundstage restaurant with Aladdin that was in between there where they had the camels. So a lot of little tie-ins. But here's the thing. There's not a dark ride. And I think maybe we talked about there was a Lion King. I think there should be a dark ride. I think that if a movie is this classic, there should be a dark ride somewhere of Aladdin. And I don't hear that being talked about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree with that.
I mean, we've got a bus. I mean, is that the same? Because I mean, this one is a big it's a big franchise. So I just feel like there's some stuff that has left over the years, like the like the VR. So yeah. One final thing I want to say before we move on here is that next week Patrick will be back with me, and we will be doing a review of Stuntman, which is on DisneyPlus, and it is a documentary about a guy who is recreating a stunt performed by his hero Evel Knievel. And the cool part about this is that the producer, one of the producers, and the director will be with us on that show. We are very excited about that. And so, please tune in next week for that one. We're just over the moon that we're going to be able to talk to them in person about that kind of stuff. So
that's so cool.
Also, we got our 50 likes, so we will open this puppy. But before we do that, now that we've talked about these movies, Wolf, we've talked about both these movies. Here's the thing. Instead of my typical, would you recommend this movie, here's what I'm going to ask you on our Versus episode. One can stay, one must go. Which one do you keep, Eric Wolf?
Man. Okay, since we're doing this, since it's new, we're doing one must go, one must stay. Obviously, animated movies staying for me. We can't take Robin away. And Will Smith would just have to be a memory, a distant memory, for sure. We gotta keep the live action. I mean, the animated.
Whoa! Hey!
The animated. We gotta keep the animated. Cause that's the one that everyone, you go to Disney, Rob just mentioned a bunch of things that were all based on the animated movie. So, that one for sure.
I gotta tell you, the original one means so much to me, but right now, I would actually pick the live action. And I know that is like hot take, unpopular opinion, but the live action to me brings so much to the story that isn't in the original. And I do cherish the original. Like I said, the music is amazing. But I feel like this one is one of my favorite of the live action adaptations. And I think a lot of people don't believe that. I think that really truly is a hot take, that this is not one of the better live actions. But to me, we talked about Lion King, and I think Lion King, it's just a retelling shot for shot, and it didn't need to be done. Yeah. With this one, I kind of love that there are both. So, the question that we asked in the title of this is, do there need to be two versions? I kind of think they're due. They're due? Sure. Because again, it takes you somewhere that it didn't before, right?
Correct.
So it adds on to the original. It gives you some of the things that you loved about the originals, but it does a little bit of a twist on it. So I agree with you about Robin Williams. OG. One of my favorite Robin Williams Disney things is when he does the Art of Animation that they did back when it was the Animation Courtyard, and you could do the Magic of Disney Animation tour, and they had the little movie. And did you ever see that movie? It was like, a pirate's life is a wonderful life for roving over the sea. I mean, that with Walter Cronkite is amazing. I will always cherish that. I think Robin Williams was just the best. But I right now I'm feeling the new one. I really am.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So let us know in the comments what you think. We appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight, and let us know in the comments, because we're going to pick somebody from the comments to win this, which is an Aladdin Wishable, which is no longer available. The good news is that some of the money went to Make-A-Wish, and I certainly always spend a ton of money on Wishables, so it's good that it was going to a good cause. I need you to guess what you think this is, though, Wolf.
Okay, so last time we got the magic lamp. I'm gonna go with. Give me that side profile again. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the magic carpet.
I think you may be right.
Let's see. Hey!
You did it! Awesome.
Nice.
All right, so there's magic. Oh, look, the little face. Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. So leave us a comment below. Tell us what you thought about the review. Tell us what you think about the movies. Tell us what you think about Patrick harassing people in the chat. Whatever you want to tell us about, and we will have Eric pull somebody from the chat to win this. We have others that have won in the past that are, those are coming in the mail to you guys soon. So thank you guys for watching so much. If you go to the main channel, you can catch on WDWNT. You can catch Timekeeping, which premiered tonight. It was pre-recorded. You can enjoy that over there. But again, thank you for joining us tonight. But please come back and join us next week when we have the director and the producer of Stuntman on here with us. It's going to be great. So please tune in. We will see you next week. Thanks a lot.